one of our questions is regarding whether we in the UK should really be more involved primarily in what is going on in the society. Yeah, is the way forward engagement in existing societal structures? And the number one thing on the agenda right now is the question about whether we should stay in the EU or come out of it, brother leader. And we dealt with that last Sabbath. But there's more to be explored there in terms of substantiating the need for a national African People's Parliament. So first and foremost, I mean, just to answer that question, is that the way forward? Is the way forward really just our engagement in existing societal structures?
Well, Tendai Mwari, the view I advanced last Sabbath on our program and also yesterday
yes,
on Chief Pakomrabai's show.
The streets are talking, brother leader.
So I attempted to do yesterday on Chief Pakomrabai's show is that engaging in the politics of this society is what we have been doing since we've been here and and the question I asked yesterday of my brother, Councillor Martin Seaton, was where are the benefits that it's yielded us? Where is the power base that we have gained as a result of engaging dutifully in party politics, for example? In this country for many, many years, African people have given our hearts and soul to the Labour Party, for example.
Since the 1960s.
Since the 1960s.
Consistently.
What benefits have we gained, lasting benefits have we gained that we can bequeath from generation to generation that maintains a status of empowerment for us, whereby we as a people can drive forward our own agenda that services our own interests as a people, as we see other people doing. And clearly, there are no examples. Certainly, our beloved brother was not able to advance any examples for us to hang our proverbial hats on. So, you know, the position that I take as a nationalist, Pan-Africanist, as a Garveyite, is that for us as a people to engage in the political process of a society whereby for so many years we have been reduced and maintained at the level of something not more than second-class citizens, if that. And that is provable by the impact of the institutions of this society on African people and African lives. In other words, every area of every institution, be it educational, be it employment, be it the criminal justice system, be it healthcare, social welfare, whatever area of life, we as a people are at a grave disadvantage. For us to vote in a system like that is to endorse a system that is palpably oppressive to our people. And so we are...
Our parents fought, apparently, for the right to vote. And we're paying them an insult, brother leader, if we don't.
Our parents fought for freedom. Our parents fought for justice. Our parents fought for this nebulous thing called equality. And they have been fighting and they've used the ballot to do that. And until this day, not only do we not have that, there is no evidence that we're going to gain that freedom, that justice, and that equality anytime soon. Yeah? So we now have to, as African people, realize that, you know, the psychologists say that if you do the same thing over and over again, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Okay? We have tried that method. We have tried that approach. It has not worked for us. Yeah? But we have seen in the legacy of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Messiah Garvey, in the legacy of the eminent prophet and king, Papa Omowale Malcolm X, and others. We've seen in the legacy of the Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the potential that presents itself to us as African people by organizing to build our own institutions, build our own economies, build our own organizations to meet our own interests as a people. We've seen the potential before these efforts were infiltrated and sabotaged by the powers that be. We saw the potential that it could possibly yield us, and we have got to now reclaim that black print that Papa Garvey gave us. We have got to reclaim that black print and put that black print into action again.
We're going to come back to that because our subject today is what's stopping us from being able to do that.
Can I say very quickly though, and before we move on, specifically to do with the referendum?
That's what I was going to ask you about. Okay. I was going to ask you more specifically, as an example of being caught up in the system and its politics and its conceptual incarceration, so to speak. How does that relate specifically to the EU? What is the game that we're being caught up on that would prevent us basically from being able to fulfill this particular agenda?
Well, first and foremost, the whole issue about joining the the European Union is the position of the British establishment. That is the position, that is the agenda of the British establishment, which is in the wider sense a new world order agenda. As I said on our show last week, and as I said yesterday on Nana Pakomabai's show, it's a new world order agenda. And the new world order agenda is the agenda of the power elites of Euro-America to drive forward their determination to have complete dominion over the entire planet and to establish a one world government and a one world system which is dominated and controlled by them in their interest at our expense as a people. In order for that project to be successful, Africa and African people have to be maintained in a system of perpetual oppression, exploitation, and total degradation. All right? This is the historical trajectory of how Europe has operated. Since Europe has come into Africa, whether as individual European countries or when Europe met up in 1884-85 in the Berlin Conference, their intention towards Africa and African people has always been one of oppression, exploitation, and degradation.
Bring it up to date, brother.
All right, yeah.
What's going on for the EU?
But we have to have the backdrop.
No, I agree.
It's important to have the backdrop. Okay, Europe had its wars, which they call World War I and World War II, which they pulled us into. World War I, 1814 to 1818. World War II, World War I, 1914 to 1918. World War II, 1939 to 1944. Africans were drawn into those wars, and we shed our blood for one European nation or another. Yeah? And after that war in which thousands of Africans shed their blood, thousands of Africans lost their lives for British sovereignty, French sovereignty, yeah, and the sovereignty of other European nations. We then had to turn around. They turned around and tried to suppress and try to stop us from gaining our own sovereignty in Africa, in the Caribbean, and in other parts of the world. We had to fight for our independence. We were still a colonized people, and we had to fight. We had to shed blood again. Our blood was shed by the same European nations that we had just sacrificed for to secure their sovereignty. We had to fight them now to secure our sovereignty. In the 50s and 60s when we came into this country, even after we had not only shed our blood in their wars, but we also gave our last pennies to the European war effort. We gave pots and pans to the British war effort, I should say. Yet when we came into this country, We could not even find decent accommodation because they would not rent us their rooms. No blacks, no dogs were the notices that they would put on their doors. We were attacked on the streets. And when it wasn't the fascist yobbos on the street, it was fascist police officers who were attacking us. This was our experience. This is what we have experienced at the hands of European nations, including Britain. So the idea that we now should get excited about a referendum that is designed to decide whether Britain stays in Europe or whether Britain comes out of Europe, whether it stays in Europe and be a part of what is fast emerging as an empire, a European empire, or should they come out and preserve their sovereignty? Well, whether it's a European empire or British sovereignty, our fate at the hands of Europe or Britain has always been death, domination, and destruction. That has been our fate. That has been our experience. Mm-hmm. So it seems to me that we are, the choices we have is between the devil and the deep blue sea. Mm-hmm. And that's no real choice.
Yeah.
That's no real choice for us as a people. So let me just crown that by saying what we are seeing is that the pro Remain lobby is the lobby of the pro-British establishment. Mm-hmm. It is the British establishment that wants to remain in Europe because that is the agenda of the British establishment.
Yes.
To remain in Europe and be part of this European empire. Mm-hmm. This, and you can see the example. All of the major parties, political parties, are behind the Remain campaign. The Conservative government, the Labour Party, the SNP party, the Lib Dems, all of these parties, the Green Party, all of them are pro-Europe. Mm-hmm. All of the major institutions of Britain are pro-Europe. The CBI, all of the major economic advisory institutions.
So how do we get here? Why are we having a referendum for if everybody's just pro the thing?
I don't know if we having a referendum or if they having a referendum.
That's a good point. Very good point.
I think it's they that's having a referendum.
Yes.
They're having a referendum because there are some rebels who decide to challenge the establishment on this issue of pushing the Britain further into this alignment or pushing further into this enterprise, into this project, this New World Order project that is going to reduce British sovereignty and undermine British democracy. Mm-hmm. Remember, British sovereignty and British democracy has never served the interests of African people. So this rebel element, led by the hard right of British politics, including some elements within the British establishment, some individuals, mainly from the hard right, but not exclusively, mainly from the hard right. And a certain character by the name of Nigel Farage, who started the United Kingdom Independent Party. Mm-hmm.
He's supposed to be your friend?
I'm supposed to be his alter ego or something of the sort. I was told yesterday that I'm like Nigel Farage. I didn't know he was a nationalist.
You're the black Nigel Farage.
It must be. I didn't know he was a nationalist, pan-Africanist, and an African spiritualist. But there you go. There you go. So what I'm saying is that this rebel element has challenged the British establishment, and in particular, the UKIP became a threat to the prospect of the Conservative Party winning the last election, leading up to the last election in May 2015. Mm-hmm. And in order to neutralize the advancement that UKIP was making, precisely on the challenge that he was posing to the British establishment on the question of Europe, and in particular on the question of preserving British independence, preserving British sovereignty, restoring what they call British. What's the word?
Sovereignty.
No, sovereignty. No, it's the other word. Democracy. Mm-hmm. British democracy. And UKIP was gathering momentum, and it looked as though UKIP would have stolen significant proportions of Conservative votes. Mm-hmm. And so And so David Cameron had no other choice but to announce to the nation that if the Conservative Party wins the election, they will convene a referendum that will give the people of Britain the chance to decide whether they want to stay in Europe or come out of Europe. That, in and of itself, secured some votes for the Conservative Party that otherwise would have gone to UKIP and would have weakened the position of the Conservative Party. And it's highly unlikely that they would have won the election and would have had to engage in another coalition with one of the minor parties. 10 times more.
All right. Well, a lot of food for thought there, kings and queens. And
yo, this is Swiss So Solid. Afrika Speaks with Alkebu-Lan. Galaxy 102.5. Blaze the fire.